Hey, welcome to another episode of Five Ways Garage. If you caught any of the other videos, you saw when we did the trail prep for the pumpkin, the CJ5. Well, today we're actually going to fix some of those issues that we went over during that check. We're just going to go ahead and drain both front and rear diffs. I've done the rear diff here recently, but it's got a small seep leak and I must have missed a spot, so we're just going to go ahead and fix that as well. So we're going to go ahead and drain them, and then we'll look at the linkage for the four-wheel drive, and then we'll make sure that everything is topped off. So let's go. All right, if you remember from the other video, one of the problems that I had was the front diff cover leaking. As you can tell, seepy, nasty. So what we're going to do is actually loosen up the bottom ones. Now, some differentials actually have a drain plug. This one doesn't have a drain plug. So you have to take all the bolts off and then let it drain. Now, what I'm going to use is some RTV, because I don't have another gasket. And you can do it with RTV as long as you do it in the proper way. And I believe the last time this was done, I don't think it was done in the proper way. So we're going to fix that. And what I did is go out and buy an entire case of RTV. I believe it's the gray. The gray does pretty good for high temperature, oil base, that type of stuff. So it should be pretty good for what we're going to do here. So let's get this off. Alright, so as you can tell, I got all the bolts off on the bottom. And what I'm going to do now is actually loosen the ones on top enough to be able to pull this out. Now we're not going to take all of them out on the top because we don't want this thing just to fall out, because then oil gets everywhere and it sucks. Alright, as you can tell, I got all the bolts out except for one. I have that one out, still in there, if I see it right there. So what that's going to do is actually trying to, once this starts draining, we don't want the whole pan to come off, because then it just gets everywhere. A couple little tricks. I have this little scraper that I have. It's a little worn down, but it's all right. Now here's the key. We want to try to pry this off. Now this does have RTV on it right now, so it's kind of stuck. So, but the one thing you don't want to do is just jam it in there and just rip it off, because then you just bend your flange and then you're never going to be able to seal it. So we're going to stick it over here on this flat area right here, and then just give it a couple whacks. We just break the seal. I'm just going to let that flow. It's not too awful bad. It's a little dirty, but not bad. Now once you get all the bulk off, then you can actually get the last bolts off here. Alright, here's a couple of things. Always look at all your teeth as far as you can see on the ring gear and also the pinion. Make sure you're not missing anything. In this particular case, my spider gears seem to be okay. Yes, that is one tiny little ring gear, but it's okay. This Jeep's not that heavy. So what we're going to do is actually going to try to get out as much oil as we can. We're just going to go ahead and let it drain. It's going to take a long time. The longer you let it drain, the more it's going to seal properly. And then we're going to come in and actually clean this face off, clean everything off of the rear diff cover. And then we should be able to put some RTV back on there. Now, the process I'm going to go through with this is actually going to be a long one, because I'm going to let this drain probably for a few hours. I might come out after dinner to start finishing it up. But I'm going to let this drain as long as I can, and then clean it up as best I can, and then clean up both ends. I'm going to put the RTV on there, and I usually put it on my finger and just kind of hit it all the way around. And that seems to be pretty good. A couple other things you want to look out for: don't get too much RTV in your holes. Some of these go all the way through, which is not a big deal. Some of these here actually go into the housing, and you don't want to put too much RTV in there, or oil or anything like that, because then you can, it's basically like hydraulics. You put that bolt in there and it could crack your case. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to stick air in there, and I got a pick just to make sure we got everything out of there. And the rest of them seem to be straight through, so it looks like it's just 2 there and 2 there. So come on back and we'll finish it up. All right, while that's draining out, I'm gonna take a 19mm and actually put a couple extra turns on all my suspension. Yep, see, that had a little bit of looseness. All right, so we got it all cleaned up. Just used a wire brush on an air tool. Anyway, so I cleaned it all up, and now we're gonna put some RTV on there. So basically, like I said, I bought a whole case of this stuff. Because every time I use it once, no matter how much you go in there, you put your cap on, you store it right, and it still dries up every time you want to use it. So I just bought another whole case. So it does come with a little hose or a little nozzle, don't need it. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm just gonna poke this. I'm gonna put a light coat all the way around the cover, and then I'm gonna put another coat around the differential. So once all that is on there, I'm gonna let it dry for a little bit, basically set it up. And then once it becomes tacky, I'm going to finger tight everything, and I'm gonna leave it there for a little bit. And then later on, right before I go inside, I'll go ahead and cinch her down. So another thing too, when you are tightening it, this stuff here is the thickest stuff in the world. So if you tighten it too much, you're just gonna have leaks. Don't over tighten it. Basically, you just marrying the two together, and the RTV will glue it. It's all closed up, but the cap has a very handy poker. Look at that. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. So I also cleaned it off with brake clean, so it should be clean. If you have oil on here, it's not gonna stick. There you go. So basically, just use your finger, just kind of get it all the way around there. Just make sure you don't glob too much into the holes. If you get into the holes, it could pop your case, and you don't want that to happen. We're gonna leave this over to the side so it doesn't mess it up. And then we're gonna take more of this, and we're gonna put it on the other side as well, and let that set up. So let's go look at that. All right, one thing I do like to do, like I said, you don't want to put too much inside the holes. Just grab yourself some Q-tips, pull them out, get all the stuff out of the hole as much as you can. And make sure that the Q-tip does not leave anything in the hole. Ooh, fill that one up. Let's clear that out. There we go. We just want to get most of it out. We don't want to split the case because we don't want to hydraulic it. All right, the other thing you need to do is grab a hold of your bolts, take a look at them. As you see, I got a little bit of RTV on some of these right here, so I'm going to take this to the wire brush, clean them off. You might want to use a pair of pliers or vice grip to hold on to the bolt head so you don't rip your finger off. All right, we're going to let that sit and come back. All right, it's been about 20 minutes or so, and you can feel it, it's starting to get a little tacky. So we're gonna grab our diff cover and slowly, without destroying what we just did, put this on. But we're not gonna get it too tight. We're basically just gluing the two sides together. Oh, look at that nut and that bolt. It's all nice and clean. There we go. So we're just going to do these finger tight. We're not going to put down any pressure because we don't want it to seep out. We want it to set. Alright, so everything is finger tight except for that one there. I got a burr or something on there. It's not going in, but it's alright. Put a wrench on it, it should be fine. So we're gonna let that sit. I might let it sit overnight, I'm not sure. Or I'll just, right before I go inside, I'll go ahead and tighten it up. Alright, so now I'm talking to you instead of talking to myself because I just tightened all those bolts up and never hit record. Sorry. But Anyway, just give you a quick rundown on how to tighten these things down. Don't put an impact on it. Don't use a drill or anything like that, because it just puts too much torque on it. So basically you just want to get it snug and then pull it down just a little bit. All right, go all the way around and make sure it's snug, because the RTV will seal it and also basically gluing it on. So I got a little bit of oozing out here, barely touching on my glove, so it's tacky. But I'm not gonna put fluid in it right now. We're gonna wait till tomorrow morning. We're gonna let this completely set in and then we'll put some fluid in it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and finish up the diff cover seals. They seem to be holding up pretty well. And now all we gotta do is add some oil. I went ahead and grabbed three gallons of it. Mostly because this is going to go into both diffs, transfer case, and transmission. So I might actually need some more. So we're going to find out. But I'll show you how we're getting ready to do it. Let's go. Alright, so this is how we're going to do it. This one's just a basic pumper. It actually just screws onto a regular jug. So it's got a little hose. You fill this up with the oil out of the big jug, and then you sit here, screw that on. Then you just sit there and pump it and pump it and pump it and pump it. Now it does go a little bit slow. If you do have the room, they do sell little nipples for these bottles here where you can just dump it up and just squeeze it. That probably works a lot better, but we're going to use the pumper because a lot of the areas that I need to fill it is not exactly easy to get to. So let's crawl underneath the pumpkin and fill up some diffs. Alrighty, let me crawl under here. So this will be the fill plug. Alright, we just use an Allen screw or Allen wrench. Not sure the size, but it's big. Anyway, always check your plug, make sure there's not any shavings on there. I've already been through this, guy, so it should be nice and clean. Put this on the other side. Alright, so you're gonna stick your hose in. Make sure it doesn't fall out because this stuff gets everywhere. And just pump. And I do have enough room here. I could just tip it up and put it in there, but I lost my nozzle. Where is it all going? Alright, we're starting to come out, so we should be good to go. Let's clean this up, put the cap back on, and we'll start on the next one. And just make sure. Oh yeah, she's full. Finally. I'm making a mess. Okay. Sweet. Alright, so that is basically how you take care of leaky valve diff covers. There are other techniques of doing it. This is just the way that I've been doing it for years. It seems to work in the past. Some of them last longer than others, but it does keep them sealed. So go ahead and try it and do it yourself. Just follow those quick instructions and stop paying other people to do it. I keep saying it. People still doing it. So anyway, just check us out for other builds. We do have the transfer case to deal with. We do have the transmission for the Wagoneer to deal with, and we got a bunch of other stuff. So stay tuned and hit that subscribe and hit the bell and figure out exactly what we're gonna do. So until then, have fun, enjoy, and get out in the garage and do it yourself. Later.